Okay, so part two. Let's rewind a little bit. All right, I have 3 boys. All right, I have 3 kids, and my oldest son was born August of 2000, right? And when I was pregnant with him, I used to suffer from headaches, right? I used to get high blood pressure when I'm pregnant. So preeclampsia, pregnancy preeclampsia, right? And so the doctor at the time, I would be like, oh my God, Tylenol doesn't work. And so this doctor told me to take Darvocet, right? And a lot of you guys may not know Darvocet because, you know, if you're new age, you're not gonna know it. My son is 23 now, okay? So he prescribed me Darvocet, and I was taking Darvocet because Darvocet was actually working for the headaches while I was pregnant. Well, I was 28 weeks, and I had went into the doctor for my 28-week checkup, and I was like, I feel pressure, like, you know, on my pelvic, like something's pressing down. Mind you, I am also 19 years old at the time. So I'm like, I feel pressure. Something is pushing down on my pelvic, and I don't know what it is. They check me. They do all this stuff. He goes, you're perfectly fine. He sends me home. I go home, and like within a couple of hours, I am in the most excruciating pain of my life. The pressure is crazy. I can't sit down. I'm on my knees laying in the bed. I was babysitting somebody's children, and I'm at their house. Like, I am just out of it, okay? I can't really eat anything. I really wasn't hungry, and the next day they were like, you gotta eat something. So I ate like a banana or something and threw that up, and we were at the dentist's office, and I just kept going to the bathroom, and the dentist reception, she says, I think you are in labor. And I was like, no, I can't be in labor because I'm only 28 weeks. So the pain just got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm going to the bathroom. This is my first child, so I don't know what labor feels like. And then I finally get outside, and I'm on my knees in the car. And I'm like, I got to go to the hospital. I don't know what's going on. I'm in the car. I'm throwing up now. And they rushed me to Florida Hospital on Rollins in Orlando, Florida. And I go into the hospital, and I'm like, they trying to put the band around my belly, but I'm in so much pain. And so when they finally get the ultrasound on my stomach, because they brought it in the room, they hit a button on the wall, and all kind of white coats come in. They rush in. And so these white coats are standing around looking, and they was like, get it out now. That's what I heard. And I'm in so much pain. Get her out now. Get her into surgery now. And so they are literally rushing me down the hallway. This is literally like 5 minutes after me coming to the hospital. And I remember he said, count to 5. And I was like, 1, 2. And I don't remember anything else. I woke up. They did an emergency C-section. They had to take my son at 28 weeks. He survived. All praises. God is amazing. He survived. And then they told me that I couldn't really get out of the bed. I couldn't really move because I needed blood transfusions because I lost so much blood. I had a abruption. So my son came out of my placenta bag inside of my body. And he and I had like 5 minutes before we both were out of here. Like my like basic septic shock. You know what I'm saying? And so, my son ended up staying in the hospital. He stayed all the way until he got to 40 weeks. And then he came home on like an apnea machine. And it was, he had a battle being born. Well, come to find out, the abruption was due to the narcotics that I was taking during pregnancy. And I know now you guys may be like, oh, they can't give you narcotics while you're pregnant. Back then they did, right? We are the reasons. We were their test dummies for them to see that you can't give narcotics really during pregnancy, right? So that's what it was. But it wasn't that I found out immediately. The lady was like, oh, it's street drugs. I'm like, lady, I don't do any drugs. So what are you talking about? So they kind of like kept it under the wraps. And then like right when we couldn't sue, because in Florida it was like 2 years of medical malpractice, 2 years after the incident, or you couldn't sue. That's when they did the recall on Darvocet, and they took Darvocet off of the market. And then that's when we found out that the reason I had the abruption was due to the Darvocet that I was on. So of course, like, that told me, one, they don't really know what they're doing, and two, that they're going to stick together, because they didn't let this information get out because they didn't want the lawsuits from it, right? You know, a big pharma, they pay these doctors to push these medicines, so they didn't want the lawsuits coming out, so they didn't tell the people that were highly affected by Darvocet. Now, of course, there were some people that still were able to get in lawsuits, but the majority of us that were impacted by the Darvocet, we could not sue because they did it after our 2 years when they brought the, you know, after the time that we could sue. So that was one of my run-ins, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, you know, that not only did you guys mess up, but you went to great lengths to make sure that, you know, people that were taking it at that time could not come back and sue, right? And I was just grateful that my son survived and that he ended up being a high functioning, you know, young man. So at the end of the day, I was just like, you know, I'm not going to really trip about it. I'm just going to be grateful that I had my son. Okay. That was in 2000. Okay. Now stay tuned for part 3.